This story unfolded in the state of New Hampshire, New England, where a 19-year-old student named Lizzi Marriott resided. The girl's favorite pastime on weekends was spending time on the ocean shore, relishing the cool breath of wind and a feeling of freshness from the water. While walking, Lizzi often pondered her future, making plans, not even suspecting that very soon, her life would be tragically cut short. Lizzi's parents would never again be able to gaze upon the ocean without the bitter taste of loss. Elizabeth Marriott was born in 1993 in the state of Massachusetts. She grew up in an atmosphere of love and decency, having not only parents but also a younger brother. From a young age, the girl showed an extraordinary love for animals, especially aquatic creatures. After finishing school in 2011, the girl entered a local college. Along with her studies, Lizzi actively engaged in volunteering, focusing on animal rescue. In the fall of 2012, 19-year-old Lizzi Marriott transferred to the University of New Hampshire, entering directly into her sophomore year. Her cherished dream had come true, to study marine biology with the prospect of future work in the field. For the duration of her studies, Lizzi moved in with relatives, her aunt and uncle, who lived in the town of Chester. This way, the girl managed to save money on housing rent. It is known that after classes, Lizzi worked part-time as a manager at a Target store. Classmates and colleagues spoke of her as a friendly, sociable girl, always ready to lend a helping hand. But one day, her kindness played a cruel trick on Lizzi. Tuesday, October 9, 2012, seemed like an ordinary day. Lizzi spent most of the day at the university. Around 8 o'clock, she briefly stopped by home, leaving a note for her aunt. In it, the girl informed that she was going to visit a friend and promised to return by midnight. But neither at midnight, nor at 1, nor at 2, nor in the morning on Wednesday did Lizzi appear. Her aunt and uncle assumed that perhaps their niece had stayed overnight at her friend's place and then went straight to the university in the morning. However, another day passed, and by Thursday, the girl still had not returned home. On the morning of October 11th, the worried aunt called Lizzi's parents, hoping they knew where their daughter was. But the father informed that he himself had been unable to reach her for several days. The Marriott family lived a 2-hour drive from Chester. Without wasting a minute, the mother and father got into the car and set off to search for their daughter. On the way, they contacted the police, reporting Lizzi's disappearance. Unfortunately, neither the parents nor the aunt and uncle had any idea which friend Lizzi had gone to visit that Tuesday evening. The police launched an active search for the missing girl. Lizzi's phone was turned off, she did not appear on social media, and there was no activity on her bank accounts either. Initially, detectives hypothesized that the girl might have been in a car accident. However, soon Lizzi's car was found in the parking lot of the University of New Hampshire campus. The interior was empty. The police could not find any clues as to the girl's whereabouts. The mother and father appealed to the public for help, promising a $10,000 reward for information about their daughter's location. Law enforcement officers called all of the missing girl's friends and found out that on October 9th, she had been visiting Kat McDonough. Lizzi and Kat had met quite recently, working together at the Target store. Colleagues reported that the girls had become friends and sometimes hung out together after work. When Lizzi disappeared, her friend Nate knew that she had gone to Kat's place. The guy sent Kat a message, "Was Lizzi at your house?" To which she replied, "No, I haven't seen her, she didn't come to my place." 18-year-old Kat McDonough was living with her boyfriend at the time, whose name was Seth Mazzaglia. Seth and Kat had met a year earlier, encountering each other for the first time in a theater. Both were actors. 30-year-old Seth Mazzaglia had graduated from the University of New Hampshire with a degree in theater arts. In addition, he had a medical education, worked as an emergency physician, and held a black belt in karate. Seth's main place of work was an electronics store, where he held the position of an ordinary consultant. Moreover, the man taught martial arts. At the time of meeting Kat, she was 17, and as soon as the girl turned 18, Seth suggested living together. They settled in his apartment in the city of Dover, New Hampshire. Kat's colleagues noticed that since she began dating her new boyfriend, the sociable and friendly girl had drastically changed. Kat withdrew into herself, stopped communicating with friends and coworkers. She even stopped calling her parents and completely cut ties with her family. It turned out that Kat McDonough's mother and father were against their daughter's new relationship. However, Kat chose love and stopped communicating with her parents. While searching for the missing Lizzi, the police stumbled upon frightening information about Seth and Kat's life. The couple practiced where Seth was the dominant and Kat submitted to him. The girl posted an ad on the internet under the pseudonyms Actress, Vampire, and Miss Scarlet. She attached her revealing photo to it and wrote the following: "My lord and I are looking for a slave to live with us. We need a girl for and housework. He, the master, is 30 years old. I am not a I completely obey him and keep my emotions to myself. This is how our household is arranged. Besides, we have a cat. We want the new girl to maintain order in the apartment, wash dishes, do laundry, cook food. Also, she should always be available for various types of at any time of day or night. We don't want her to have a job outside the home. All her actions will only take place after the master's approval." Investigators had no doubts that Seth Mazzaglia and Kat McDonough were involved in Lizzi's disappearance. The girl vanished on October 9th, and already on the 12th, Seth and Kat were brought in for questioning. They were placed in separate rooms and interrogated simultaneously. Kat stated that she had not seen Lizzi on the eve of her disappearance. The girl denied that Lizzi had visited their home on October 9th. Kat's interrogation lasted about 2 hours, after which she simply refused to further communicate with the police, and they allowed her to return home. However, Kat remained at the police station, waiting for her boyfriend's interrogation to end. Seth Mazzaglia presented a completely different version of events. Unlike Kat, he did not conceal that Lizzi had indeed come to visit them. Seth confessed that he had made love with both girls, tying them up with ropes. At some point, something went wrong, and Lizzi accidentally died. Mazzaglia's interrogation lasted a whole 11 hours. He recounted that after the death of their new friend, he and Kat had taken Lizzi's body to the city of Portsmouth. They reached the spot where the Piscataqua River flows into the Atlantic Ocean and threw the body into the water, then returned home. Seth Mazzaglia's interrogation was shrouded in strict secrecy, so no one except the police learned all the details of his testimony. After the confession, law enforcement officers, along with Seth, went to the place where, according to the man, he and Kat had disposed of Lizzi's body. He led them to Pierce Island on the Piscataqua River, known for its powerful tides and currents. Seth Mazzaglia was arrested and charged with murder. Lizzi's parents were informed of the horrific news. The mother and father admitted that deep down, they felt their daughter was no longer alive. On Saturday, October 13th, a candlelight vigil was held in memory of 19-year-old Lizzi Marriott. Meanwhile, the investigation was in full swing. Detectives searched Seth and Kat's apartment, but the 3 rooms were in such disarray that they could not find any evidence. They also checked the territory around Mazzaglia's house. In the garbage, investigators found a bag containing men's underwear, a pair of black leather gloves, and Lizzi's tights. Later, it would be discovered that Seth and Lizzi's DNA traces were found on the men's underwear, which could indicate their close contact. Whole squads were sent to search for Lizzi. They combed the Piscataqua River for several weeks but were unable to find the girl's body. Detectives hypothesized that the strong current had carried Lizzi into the Atlantic Ocean. Meanwhile, Seth's ex-girlfriend, Catherine Fish, contacted the police. They had dated 10 years ago and had not seen each other for a long time, but Catherine decided to tell the truth about her former partner. The girl admitted that at the beginning of their relationship, Seth had been very attentive and caring, giving flowers, showering her with compliments, and devoting almost all his free time to her. But when it came to Catherine realized that the guy was obsessed with. At first, the girl thought she had gotten into a story similar to the novel, 50 Shades of Grey. But the longer Catherine was with Seth, the more cruelty he displayed toward her. In addition, the guy often shared his chilling fantasies in which he took people's lives. Once, Seth gripped Catherine's throat so tightly that the girl begged him to let her go immediately, but in response, Seth only tightened his grip further. After this incident, Catherine became terribly frightened and decided to end the relationship, but she could not leave. By that time, they had already moved to another city, where Catherine had neither relatives nor friends. The girl simply did not know where to go, and moreover, she had no money, so she was forced to continue living with Seth in his apartment. Soon, the guy began complaining to Catherine that one girl was not enough for him and they needed to find a third partner. Seth periodically brought new girls home, but none of them stayed long in Mazzaglia's apartment. Life became unbearable for Catherine, but the girl, as before, feared that if she ran away, he would find her, bring her back home, and do something terrible to her. After several months, Catherine finally mustered the courage to leave Seth. She left his house without warning. Fortunately, the girl managed to travel 1,000 kilometers and reach her parents' home. She never met with Seth again. 2 days after Seth Mazzaglia's arrest, his current girlfriend Kat McDonough met with her lawyer and recorded a video confession. Kat revealed that Lizzi had been at their apartment on October 9. At first, the three of them watched a movie, and then they started playing. According to Kat, in the process of the game, everyone became a and decided to have. Supposedly, each of them consented to it. It all began with kisses and caresses, and then Seth suggested tying Lizzi up with ropes, to which the girl agreed. Kat even drew a diagram of exactly how Seth had bound their new partner's body. According to Kat, everything was going normally at first, but at some point, when the bound Lizzi was lying on the floor, she suddenly had a seizure. She began to suffocate, and after a few seconds, she lost consciousness and died. Lizzi's family refused to believe that the girl could have voluntarily engaged in such close contact with people she barely knew. Kat's entire story seemed absurd and far-fetched to them. And Lizzi's friends reported that she had been in a relationship with a girl named Brittany. Lizzi would have never cheated on her, as she greatly valued this relationship. 2 months after the tragedy, Kat McDonough was arrested and imprisoned on 3 counts related to obstructing justice and the investigation. It became known that while behind bars, Kat had been corresponding with Seth. They planned to escape from prison and leave for another country to get married there and no longer testify against each other. But their escape attempt failed. After that, Seth wrote a letter to Kat, claiming that they needed to be reborn and meet in a new life. Seth was a great adherent of black magic and believed that death was not the end. However, the longer Kat remained alone, the more clarity came to her mind. Soon, the prosecutors offered the girl a deal. Instead of a possible 20 years in prison, she had to testify against Seth. She needed to tell the truth about what had really happened in their apartment. And then her sentence would be reduced to 3 years. Kat could not refuse such an offer. In May 2014, 2 years after the crime, Seth Mazzaglia stood trial. Prosecutors insisted that Seth's actions had been deliberate, purposeful, and cold-blooded. During the hearing, they read out text messages that Seth had sent to Kat on August 25, 6 weeks before the tragedy. In them, Seth ordered his girlfriend to find a third partner who could live with them in the apartment and become a new slave. He also demanded that Kat find him a girl for the time she would be away from home. In August 2012, Kat left the city for 10 days to attend a theater camp but never found a replacement for herself. Since no one responded to Kat's ad for a third partner for a long time, at the end of the summer, Seth began regularly threatening her with brutal reprisals. The man wrote that if Kat did not want a terrible retribution, she had to bring any girlfriend to their apartment with whom he could engage in relations right in front of her eyes. During the 2014 trial, Kat McDonough agreed to the deal and shared a new version of the events of that fateful night when Lizzi died. Kat admitted that she was afraid of Seth and completely obeyed him. To fulfill her man's order, she decided to invite Lizzi over. Prior to this, Lizzi had already visited Kat once, and the girls had spent the evening together, just chatting as friends. Lizzi trusted Kat, so when the latter invited her over again, she agreed without hesitation. As Kat recounted, Seth knew in advance that Lizzi would be coming to visit them. He had seen her photos and remarked that the new partner was very attractive. And indeed, Seth took a liking to Lizzi. According to Kat, on October 9th at 9 p.m., Lizzi arrived at Mazzaglia's apartment. The three young people chose a movie, turned it on in the background, and decided to play. In this way, Seth and Kat wanted to set the mood for Lizzi to get. The room was dimly lit. The company played cards, constantly joking and laughing. Lizzi lost more often than the others, so eventually, she was left wearing only her underwear. When she lost again, Seth suggested she kiss Kat, but the girl refused, saying she would not do it because she was in a serious relationship. Then Seth proposed that Lizzi go with him to another room, but the girl again refused. After 2 rejections, the man became enraged. Kat and Lizzi were sitting side by side on the floor, watching the movie. Seth went to the next room, where he put on black leather gloves and took a rope. Then he returned to the girls, sat down on the carpet right behind Lizzi, and suddenly threw the rope around her neck and strangled her. After that, Seth did what he had long desired. He engaged in close contact with the already dead Lizzi. All this time, Kat sat nearby, simply observing what was happening. She was frightened and did not even try to somehow stop the frenzied Seth. Kat did not attempt to help her friend. At 10:49 p.m., Seth called his acquaintance Roberta. He said he needed help and asked her to come over. Roberta, along with her boyfriend Paul, arrived at Seth's apartment after 11 p.m. When they entered, they saw Seth sitting on the bed, and at his feet on the floor lay the dead Lizzi. The girl was wearing only her underwear, and a plastic bag was put over her head. Meanwhile, Kat was in the kitchen, sitting on the floor in a fetal position, rocking back and forth. The friends asked what had happened here. Seth could not give a clear answer. He only said that this time, things had gone too far. The man sat calmly on the bed, repeating the same phrase over and over, "Things went too far." Roberta and Paul decided not to get involved in this situation. They advised Seth to call an ambulance, and then they simply left. Roberta and Paul did not call the police, as they did not want any extra trouble. As Kat recounted, when the friends left, Seth got up from the bed, approached her, extended his hand, and said, "Darling, we will deal with this. Are you with me?" Kat did not dare to contradict her master. Around 1 o'clock in the morning, the two of them wrapped Lizzi's body in a tarp and put it in a suitcase. Then they took the suitcase to Lizzi's car, parked near the house. The couple then headed to Pierce Island on the Piscataqua River. They covered about 20 kilometers, trying to drive on back roads and avoid toll booths. Seth and Kat reached the edge of the island. There, they dragged the suitcase up the path to the observation deck on the cliff. Together, they pulled Lizzi out of the suitcase, and then Seth threw the girl's body off the cliff. But as it turned out, the water level in the river was low, so Lizzi fell onto the rocks. She was clearly visible from the shore. Seth ordered Kat to go down and drag the body into the water. The man said he was very tired and would not be able to climb back up. Kat had to descend to the river alone. She covered Lizzi with seaweed and then dragged the body into the water. Afterward, they tidied up Lizzi's car, drove to the campus, and left the vehicle in the parking lot. Seth and Kat returned home on foot, walking about 10 kilometers. The entire next day, they got rid of the evidence. Kat did not go to the police because she was afraid of Seth. She lied that Lizzi had not come to visit them because she did not want to testify against Mazzaglia. Kat knew what this man was capable of and did not wish to repeat Lizzi's fate. At the trial, Kat constantly sobbed, but there was not a single tear in her eyes. When the prosecutor asked why she was crying without tears, Kat replied that she did not know, but she had seen their cat do the same. Seth Mazzaglia's lawyer insisted that Kat McDonough's second story was a complete lie. He stated that Kat was a theater actress, a professional liar. The defense attorney tried to convince the court that only Kat's first version, where she said that Lizzi had died accidentally during contact, was true. Seth's defense did not deny that the man had helped dispose of the body but argued that he was not guilty of Lizzi's death. Kat's lawyers claimed that at the time of the tragedy, McDonough had been completely isolated, not communicating with either friends or parents. Seth constantly monitored his cohabitant's every move and regularly forced her to have sometimes up to 10 times a day. One of the main pieces of evidence of Seth Mazzaglia's guilt was the black leather gloves found in the trash near his house. Lizzi's DNA traces were discovered on them. Seth knew what he was going to do to the victim, so he deliberately put on gloves to protect himself. This crime was not an accident. In June 2014, the court found 32-year-old Seth Mazzaglia guilty of first-degree murder. The man was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. 20-year-old Kat McDonough was also found guilty. By agreeing to a deal with the investigation, she received only 3 years in prison. It is known that while in prison, Kat told her cellmate about her plans to return to her parents' home on the ocean shore after her release. Kat was freed in July 2016. She faced the fact that for a long time, she could not find a job, as everyone knew her biography and did not want to deal with her. Kat is not obliged to report to the police about her whereabouts and can move freely. She does not give interviews and does not maintain social media accounts. The body of 19-year-old Lizzi Marriott was never found. It is known that since 2012, her parents have not visited beaches. They simply cannot look at the ocean, knowing that somewhere there, their daughter rests. Lizzi has not been buried to this day. Her mother and father created a small memorial for her, a bench in the sun by a lake in the forest of their native Massachusetts. The parents believe that Lizzi's soul is now free. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Until next time, friends.